This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites. A no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better host, or if you're looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month absolutely free. And now, enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only two-time PWG Battle of Los Angeles champion, King Ricochet, and you are listening to Busted Wide Open Podcast.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open Podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open Podcast, our Patron Mailbag series. This is episode number 11. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And yes, Nick, it is another edition of our Patron Mailbag, where the patrons who help us run this show ask us questions and we answer them here for all of you. If you would like to ask us a question and be on this show, you can do so. Just head on over to patreon.com/BWO. Sign up for one of our affordable tiers, and you too could be asking us questions and hearing us rack our brains for answers here on the show, which is always interesting. I'm glad we warm up, Nick. We do a show right before this where we do our regular Saturday show. And I'm glad I warm up for this, because if I went into this cold after waking up, after getting like 6 hours of sleep and working the night before, it would be a lot more difficult to rip out some of these answers, because, man, our patrons give us some awesome, difficult, fun to think about questions, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you to everyone who does give us questions already. And if you think you can get us some even better ones, sign up for Patreon and join us right here on the Mailbag episode.
Yes, as always, guys, come over and join us on Facebook in the Busted Wide Open discussion group. Just search for Busted Wide Open on Facebook. Just, like our page and send us a join request. Get in there. Get into Discord, too. You'll find the links for it there. It's where we do all the real lifetime. Those Christmas movies are going on right now.
Lifetime, yeah.
Live chats for all of the pay-per-views happening, as well as all the shows throughout the week. You can have real-time chats about them. You guys can tell I'm starting to get really tired. It's been a long week. Apologies about that. You can also find us over on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. Make sure you're following us there, and streaming live here on YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/BustedWideOpen. We're on a race to 1,000 subscribers. Probably not going to get there. We got about 2 weeks left, but I'd be willing to take a surprise if you guys could get it done. If we get to 1,000.
Christmas miracle.
Yeah, if we could get a Christmas miracle and get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, you guys would be in for a treat. But any subscribers, thank you very much for your subscriptions. And make sure you jingle that notification bell so that you get alerted anytime we go live or put up new content. Ian, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the questions.
Bring it on.
First one is up by Jacob. What wrestler, one male and one female, do you think is the most improved wrestler this year? Any promotion?
Most
improved.
Well, okay. It depends on what you mean by improved, as in like their technical ability has gotten better, or they're just in a better spot. And
they're getting booked better?
Whatever. Yeah. Most improved. An easy choice would be Bray Wyatt. Certainly probably better to be Bray Wyatt now than Bray Wyatt this time last year.
Until they ruin it again.
Right. Well, we're talking about from then to 1 year, 365 days, Nick, is what we're talking about.
Right.
Him or Kenta would be my other one. A lot better to be Kenta now than a year ago, basically putting people over in the cruiserweight division. So, for the guys, I mean, that's as far as like where they are in the world of wrestling, that's certainly Things are looking a lot brighter for them in terms of. Well, let's see, women. Who's most improved since last year? God, I wish I could say Bailey because they finally gave her something to do, but nope, not her. Um, Man, women's really tough. I'm trying to think who would even.
My women's one is easy. I'll throw mine
Oh,
out
really?
there.
Please give it to me because I'm stuck.
Asuka. From a year ago, Asuka.
She was beating Becky Lynch a year ago at the Royal Rumble.
Well, she won
To
she
being
won,
a tag champ.
Well, I just
Is that better? Is that
the heel
improved?
turn? I think is she's being booked stronger in the heel turn. With the forget the belts, forget the titles and the changes and stuff. But I think I like the way she's being booked now, other than just a generic Japanese wrestler. I don't. There was that misunderstanding about how to get that, but I think with the Mist, with the Persona, with the Kabuki Warriors, with the new song, it's all kind of hit a stride at this point, right here at the end of the year, and it's the first one that I think of across the board of just presence. We can certainly go down each little category of mic skills and performance and in-ring ability. I mean, we could have the superlatives conversation, but the one that jumps out to me, and yeah, probably because I'm a huge mark for her as well, as Asuka.
Well, definitely a strong argument there. I would have to say, if I really thought about it, Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, that's
think how far she's coming in a year.
Yep.
And for someone who's just been wrestling for 2.5, 3 years, like how good she is in what a short period of time, it's wild. So that's going to be my pull that one out of the sky.
I'm struggling on the men's. I think everybody's still kind of. I mean, Alberto Carrillo. Everybody's
I don't know, man.
kind of at this point where
his
they
position maybe, but I've been calling that guy blue chips as I first laid eyes on him out of his mask. So
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, everybody else that I'm thinking about is still kind of at the same spot, roughly, that they were a year ago. Bray Wyatt obviously is a different one there, but improved? Have they?
Yeah.
Have they improved? That's where I'm struggling. Miz as a face has improved.
Has he? I miss heel. I'm liking face Miz. I like what they're doing with him right now, but I admit I miss heel Miz.
Yeah,
I do. But everyone's got to go through these things. It's fine. Like he can be a face for a while. It's fine. It's fine.
Esme says Corbin in the chat, and I'm going Constable Corbin, King Corbin, kind of the same thing. Not a lot going on.
But he's higher on the card. He's getting more consistent reactions. It's not quite as wishy-washy. Like I think people are coming around on the fact that he's actually executing what he's supposed to be doing. Yeah, I don't know. Most improved. I know
who my male is now. I know.
Oh my.
John Moxley.
Oh, you mean this for the question?
John Moxley.
Moxley. Ooh.
That's my most improved for the year. Between the G1, basically running the card on the G1 B block for the whole tournament, his presence in AEW, his appearance at Double or Nothing, all of that stuff. John Moxley. That's my favorite for the year for the men's.
Yeah. I can't disagree.
And Jacob, yes, I'll give a hat tip to Lance Archer as well. The new Mohawk evil heel Lance Archer is magnificent.
Jesus, yeah, he definitely improved his stakes. That's in half a year, 6 months. That guy took it right off. So totally.
Good question, Jacob. Thank you very much. Good way to kick us off as well. Next up, we got Marshall. What wrestling moment has left you speechless and always gives you goosebumps when you see it again? For me, it was AJ's debut at the Royal Rumble when the words "I am phenomenal" slowly faded in, and the crowd knew right away. Thanks for the great content and can't wait to see what 2020 brings. Also hope Nia Jax likes her new crib.
So far, so good. She's got a nice hat on over there.
She was the first, for you guys, for the record, she was the first thing to go up in the new studio. One, because I didn't want her to get crushed. I hand carried her over here. The movers didn't bring her over. But I wanted her to...
Did you cradle her in your arms on the way over?
If by cradling her, you mean tri-folded her back up into her original position, yes. But I didn't want that crease to come back, so I had her. But yeah, she was the first thing in here that stood up. What wrestling moment has left you speechless and always gives you goosebumps when you see it again?
This one's easy for me. It's super easy for me.
Go for it.
I almost kind of want you to go first just because I feel like I don't know how you're going to top this, but if I look around myself here in the old Danger Cave, I am surrounded by, I've got a signed Cactus Jack shirt up there. I got a signed Mick Foley poster right here. I have a little Mick Foley bobblehead. I'm surrounded by Mick Foley stuff. My sign off for the show is Jim Ross's call after Mick Foley fell off the cage. I hate to be that basic wrestling fan, but there's a reason it's iconic. And that is the Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley. That is I can actually take that match, and I've seen Mick live doing his like breakdown of that Hell in a Cell match, because it is one of those things that like it's become iconic for so many reasons. But even before I saw that, I could walk you through that match and give you like a second by second breakdown of everything that's happening and all the incredible stuff, the inside scoops and all that crap. And I am obsessed with that match because it's a car crash of a match. It's not even a match really. It kind of turns into sort of a match, but it really is a car crash, and it's something that should never be repeated. Like, I fully understand that. It's not like it's a stunt show. It's not something that you want to try to repeat, at least not on that level. They've tried to repeat it, but made it safe, and it's not the same thing because you can tell they're making it safe, and so you don't have that same feeling of, oh my God, I might be watching someone die. And there is that aspect of that horrible aspect to that match when you first watch it. Rewatching it now, thankfully, I don't have to experience that like gut-wrenching fear, and so I can just enjoy it as something that is absolutely bonkers insane. And it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it, to answer this question specifically. And I can't say it leaves me speechless per se, because I could speak a million words about it. But when I'm watching it, I'm definitely just there, just eyes wide, jaw on the floor every time. Holy crap. How did this actually happen? So that would be mine.
There's several here that are coming to mind, but none of them are like jumping way out in front of each other. Before there was Super Roman and there was Super Cena, and before Super Cena there was the glass shatter and Stone Cold. And every time that glass would shatter, I would just, because he would come out and interrupt. He was going to come out and beat the McMahons down. Going back and looking at some of those on the network or on YouTube or something like that, just those interruptions where you'd hear the glass shatter. Still,
I'm surprised
to this day,
that you went
can
for
give me
Stone
some
Cold.
pops.
I'm surprised you went for Stone Cold with that, as opposed to if you swung, like one of those.
It wasn't as big of a. It wasn't the glass shatter. I don't know that they'll ever have another glass shatter. It was lightning in a bottle. They're just never going to do that again. But those are just as good. The one that I was rattling around was Rock's tearing down of people in a way. He was one of the, if not the best at doing that. We got all of the catchphrases out of The Rock in 2-3 years. So yeah, that was an amazing time. Anytime I watch a Rock promo, I go back to Ric Flair in studio in NWA, some of those promos that he did, and I just sit there, watch them, and just go, my God.
The tear in my eye promo after the Royal Rumble 92 is still one of those ones I always get goosies out.
There was one after Starrcade with the Horseman. The one with the $600 lizard shoes is probably still my favorite one.
Can't keep these gators down.
And I did it wearing these $600 custom lizard shoes. And every time it just makes me and I get those little chilly, but it just there's several of those, Marshall, that just I will go back and watch on repeat. The superpowers with Mean Gene, and the cream of the crop. I mean, just a lot of mine are promos.
Yeah.
And it's funny to think about that. I've never thought about it that way, but a lot of the things I remember in wrestling aren't like big epic matches. They're promos and the drama and the things like that come along with that. Certainly you could say Omega Okada in the last couple of years. You could say certainly I go back and watch those. You go back and watch, just go back to the G1 this year and watch Sonata almost beat Okada.
Oh, God.
Like the drama of that, running it to the time.
10 seconds left. Oh,
yeah. Just, and everybody, if you were watching the G1, was all in on it. So something like those kind of moments.
Sonata did beat Okada in the G1, and it blew my mind. With 10 seconds left, we thought it was going to go to a time draw. 10 seconds left, he beats him, and then he loses when he gets to the title shot. But
Right.
it was still like, oh my God, that 10 seconds left in that match. Oh my God, what a match that was.
Yeah. So lots of stuff for me, I guess, are built around drama, the anticipation of something. You know. Well, thank you very much, Marshall, for the question there. Next up, Abraham. Congrats on the move, Nick. Thank you very much, Abraham. Appreciate it. This week I have a simple question, not hard at all. When will AEW realize that the more and more they throw shade at WWE on their show, it could possibly be damning for them in the long run? He feels like the show quality is slowly going down. A lot more negative comments lately about the product. I don't agree with all of it, but I think the throwing shade is starting to get old. I don't agree with this at all.
Oh wow. Okay, you like the shade.
I don't consider it shade. I think we'll use this week as an example. Jericho and Moxley. Jericho using a lot of the throwbacks to the history of Moxley was super powerful for me. It really made, like, if he hadn't sat there and rattled all those off, I remember them on their own, but I wouldn't have put it all together like he did so brilliantly and make that feel that much more important and that much bigger. I think Cody coming out at Double or Nothing and slamming a sledgehammer into a Triple H throne, of course, covered in Maltese crosses. Yes, of course, that sucks. That's stupid. I haven't seen him do that since.
Really? I thought it was cute.
It was a little fine. But I think the quality has actually taken a bit of a turn for the better. I've felt like it's been had a bit of a screw loose as they've found their way, but I'm starting to see like actual narrative outside the women's division. I'm going to put that asterisk there. I've seen narrative and storyline developing. And we've got things that are in motion, and MJF with a ring and heel turn and on Cody, and we've got Jericho as a badass champ forming a faction. We've got things developing over time. So I'm seeing it get better. I'm enjoying it more than I did when it debuted, if I'm being honest with you. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know that they're throwing that much shade. There's a couple of things here and there. The worst one was the television commercial, and that was apparently TNT and not even AEW's fault. So I'm not really seeing that there's a lot of shade being thrown. There's a couple of references getting thrown out there every once in a while, like little jabs in promos and whatnot, but I'm not seeing like out and out full on like I remember how WCW used to go for WWE back in the day. Like they used to go for them like for the neck. And
Bischoff especially.
This is nothing. This is nothing compared to what those guys were doing back then. And it's fascinating to see that even with the limited amount that they're doing it, and this is not just it's Abraham either. Like I'm hearing a lot of people that are like, oh, I wish they would just not mention WWE. And it's on one hand, I'm like, yes, I don't agree with tribalism, and I'd prefer people just be able to enjoy everything, and you don't have to pick a side. But at the same time, like I don't really mind if there's a little kind of playful jab throwing here and there. If they're really going for the jugular on it and they're trying to kill each other and trying to make their fans believe that anyone who watches WWE is evil, and we're the only wrestling company out there, like that I don't agree with, and that I would absolutely abhor.
Right.
But like, you know, Jericho saying something like that was a bad gimmick from bad creative or something like that. You know, there's a part of me that kind of goes, oh, you know what I mean? It's relatively harmless, in my opinion, at that level. Should they base their whole creative around it on AEW? Should they base their whole brand around it? No, absolutely not. It should not even be something that's regular on TV. Like it's something that just pops up here and there. But I don't think that they're turning into that as much or even enough to say that they need to be worried about it. So I don't see it being something that's a regular occurrence, regular enough that it would be damning for them in the long run, to speak to this question specifically.
Yeah.
Not at the level they're doing it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
If they start doing a lot more, then yes, I could see it be something that would become a problem. But at the current level they're doing it, no.
The NXT campaign commercial tearing it down was a perfect example of what you do not want to do. The wrestlers themselves taking little pot shots and jabs and things like that. Cody cutting a promo on Jericho and saying, when we used to work at that other company, there was a visible wall around the ropes. That's all harmless and innocent and fun.
That's
and
cute.
for those
It's
of us
cute.
fans that have been along for the ride for 20 plus years, we love that kind of stuff. It geeks us out because, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's really
I don't
all
see
it
a
is.
problem with it because it's not creating that kind of tribalism where you'd have the negativity being created between fans of the different products.
Oh, they're doing that
And
all
if you're
by
a fan-
themselves. The fans are doing that all by themselves.
That's kind of my point. They shouldn't be feeding into that specifically.
No, exactly.
So, yeah.
Tribalism never bad. Splitting aside. Enjoy. Look at the ratings this week. Exact. Right?
Nearly exactly the same.
Is it half that amount of folks flipping, or is it the same amount of folks flipping back and forth, or picture in picture watching both on two different monitors, or it's because we all enjoy both products, and as we should, and we should be thankful that in 2019 we've gotten both, and I don't think that there's any kind of negativity going on really there. Thank you very much, Abraham.
Marshall's pointed out in the chat. He said during the Charlotte show when we were calling Jericho a stupid dick, he came back with what? Katie Vick? That's cute, man. Come on, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's the kind of like little jab throwing that I think is fun.
And that's how good Jericho is. Yep.
That's who.
Thank you, Abraham. Next up, Brian, the champ, current BWO Pick'ems champion. Brian Average, out of any wrestlers that you have had any type of interaction with or met in person, what was your I have three already. What was your favorite or most memorable interaction, and who was the wrestler? So you go first because I have to tell a story here.
Oh, geez. I'm trying to think of, because I've got a couple too. Damn, I wish you'd gone first because now I kind of want to brainstorm about which one.
Okay, you brainstorm out. I'll story time.
Which story I want to? Because you already know yours. I don't know mine yet.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
The first PWG show Sir Ian Dangerous ever took me to was before they transitioned to the Globe. It was at the American Legion in Reseda. No air conditioning, and they sold beer by the pitcher. So Nick loves beer, and it was really hot, as it tends to get in the San Fernando Valley during the summer. I think it was August or September or something. So like peak heat in a tiny little building with no ceilings or anything. I mean, everybody was there. It was Battle of Los Angeles, right? The finals of Battle of Los Angeles. And Meltzer was there, to put it in perspective. Like, everybody was there. So this is my first exposure to it, and it's like wood paneling walls and all that kind of stuff. I had heard about and seen PWG, but I had never gone. So, I mean, everybody was there. Ricochet, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Jeff Cobb. Just
Zack Sabre Jr.
Bunch of people, right?
I'm trying. It was Bola. I mean, everyone was there.
Yeah, I'm hammering these pictures. I think I had 3 or 4 of them. And about 3 hours into the event, Ian said he was looking over at me, and I was just green, and I was just going.
By the way, this is in Reseda in the summer. Yeah. It was 115 degrees in this room.
Yeah.
The notorious sweat box. It was 1 billion degrees in
I
there.
felt like I had been dipped in a pool. All of my clothing was soaking wet, and everybody was miserable, but we were all slamming on the walls and chanting, Keith Lee! Keith Lee!
Yeah.
Just that place was so loud, and the energy was up, and you're just like, oh my God, it's so cold and refreshing. I'm just going to keep drinking this beer. Everything's over. I start fading at some point. Everything's over. Everybody's bailing out of that place because it's so hot. I immediately made a beeline to the nearest dumpster and just all the beer came back out. And then I went back inside and bought a T-shirt from Ricochet and got him to do the bumper that you heard at the beginning of the show today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, had a nice conversation with him too.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very nice conversation with him. Yeah.
Ricochet was awesome.
Yeah, Ricochet's a good dude. All those cats were good dudes, man. But that was a fun event. And thank you. I
had to have stunk to high heavens of beer and vomit.
Thank you to Stupid Sexy Flanders for hanging out with us on that one. And actually, if you watch night 3 of Bola from that year, whatever it was, 16 or 17, you actually see us sitting up against the walls over on the side. We're pretty easy to see. Great seats. But no, that is a good one. Damn, I'm still torn on mine.
We got to get moving, so you can't be torn too much longer.
I know.
Just pick one.
I know. I don't wanna.
How nice Jeff Cobb smelled when you met him.
Jeff Cobb did smell quite nice.
Yes.
I'm torn. Okay, because I've got one where it's just I want to talk really nicely about this dude. Okay, everyone, he's not really a wrestler though. This is the problem. I'm torn between two good ones.
Okay.
One is Josh Barnett coming to Monday Midnight Metal Madness.
Cool.
And he's technically, I guess he's a wrestler now, but he's known more as an MMA guy. And I do now. This is where Nick and I met too, was at Monday Midnight Metal Madness at my bar, which is where I do a heavy metal night. And
Josh Barnett also runs bar wrestling downtown, correct?
No, he does Bloodsport.
But
you're thinking of Joey Ryan.
I'm thinking of Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, but Barnett has been. I've seen him around a bunch of places, but Josh Barnett came in and hung out for Midnight Metal Madness. Had a bunch of requests for metal because he's a big metalhead himself, big whiskey guy himself, and he and I were talking whiskey for a while. We talked for a while about how him working with AJ Styles and basically shot the shit. And I've caught up with him a few more times since then, but he was just a super cool guy and spent the whole night as much as I could hanging out because I'm trying to work, and at the same time I'm trying to hang with Josh Barnett. But very good dude. Also just a gigantic unit of a human being and very soft-spoken, nice guy. I was torn between that and the time that I was working security at a hotel, and Kevin Nash was standing next to me. I was standing between Kevin Nash and Shaquille O'Neal, waiting for taxis. And Kevin Nash rested his arm on my head. Just I don't know. We're just standing there, just resting on my head, and he's like, "You okay, little buddy?" It's like, what? What the fuck is going on? Anyway, yeah. So those are my two stories.
Esme in the chat says we need to hear the story of how the two of us met in First Impressions, and I'm pretty sure we've done that either on a bonus episode or one of these mailbag episodes. That's
guarantee we've done this mailbag episode. I can go back and see which one it was. It was.
We'll figure it out.
I know
where
we have.
is.
I think we did an AMA at one point, Nick, and during the AMA,
that's what it was. It was the November. Was it November? No, October. No, we did Lucha. Might have been September.
Okay, well, we'll go back and look. We'll let you know.
It's the bonus episode that's called AMA Mailbag or Listener Mailbag or something like that. Esme.
Yeah.
Check that one out. Thank you very much, Champ. Look forward to your title defense at Royal Rumble here in a couple of months or 6 weeks. Next up, Martin. Martin, we're not going to get to this one today. We're just going to give you a heads up. You have all the rosters. Build a faction for each Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, New Japan, and Impact.
Oh my God.
I mean, we could pick one.
Build a faction? That's a lot.
Think about that one.
Oh my.
We can't do like 12 bonus episodes.
I don't have all the rosters. I don't have them all laid out in front of me. Yeah. Plus, I mean, also to speak to this, New Japan already is basically one big bunch of factions. Are we building a faction I'm not sure. Yeah, this would be a lot to do that. Martin. Let's
could put that on the list of potentials for future bonus episodes if we wanted to. I think that'd be easier.
Yeah. This
We're already
could be
booked
a fun
through
one,
February, I believe, at this point.
Build like a cool faction, and then once we build the factions, Nick, for each one,
fantasy booking.
We have to go make it fit well, or oh God, you and your fantasy booking, or just make him in 2K. I would say 2K20, but that thing is such a hunk of junk. If they ever patch it, we'll do it in 2K20.
I'm waiting on it. I got everything set up again. I'm getting ready to start building it. I got 2 weeks off for the holidays. It's getting ready to start happening. So those of you that are subscribed to or followed the Twitch channel, be on the lookout for those alerts. It's coming.
All I know is I would love to see Ricochet and Randy Orton team up. That's for some reason I'm just loving every time they interact. Just weird. I know. I just love they've had some interactions recently.
I built a few back in May or June whenever we did my Knicks fantasy booking for the first half of the year.
Sure, you did.
I called the phenomenal ones, but they turned out to be the OC, and then I had Finn Balor basically joining up with them. That's still one I would love to see happen down the road, but probably won't, to be realistic. That's
kind of a gimme. It's kind of a gimme one.
Well, yeah, now. But back in then when I was writing it, it felt a little crazy, right?
Felt fresh and new.
It was kind of the point. Right. Yeah. I wasn't biting on Bullet Club at all. Well, thank you very much, Martin. We will look into that one more. Let's put that one on the list, Sir Ian, as a candidate for a bonus episode in the future, because I think that could be a lot of fun. I am building at least 2 so far new stable / factions going into the second half of the fantasy booking. So stay tuned for that. Shooting to have that out to you guys by the end of January. So stay tuned. Let's go next to Andy, the former champ, Andy Jessup. Are AEW realizing that as much as they preach offering an alternative to WWE, it's not always possible? One example is the hidden camera that was in that Jobber's room during the Dark Order promo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good call. Good call. You know what's funny? This is something that I've been thinking about recently, is how much AEW is kind of aping the tropes of WWE, almost as though they're worried that's the only language that their viewers are going to understand, is that style of presentation. And they could, if they wanted to, really go off the rails and try a whole new different presentation, a la New Japan, a la Lucha Underground. But they're, kind of like what TNA did, was basically become WWE Light. And that's a really, that's a good question by the former champ, and something that I think that AEW does, like, it's something that they need to be very careful of, is not becoming WWE Light, and just being there as the alternative to WWE, because all that is setting themselves up as a secondary lesser tier of WWE, which is ultimately what the perception of TNA was. So, they need, every single decision that they make in terms of production needs to be considered and said, how does this make us look? How does this stay consistent across the entire product? And that's one thing where they, as a quote unquote alternative to WWE, it would show, because WWE doesn't give a crap about keeping things consistent across all of its shows and even all of its, week to week shows. Like, things don't stay consistent even from one week SmackDown to the next. And that lack of consideration, and that somewhat controlled chaos, is something that people have grown to not like about WWE, or have never liked about WWE. And so if you want to be a WWE alternative and not be WWE Light, like, creating an environment where there is that consistency with your presentation, even if it has some elements of WWE presentation in it, keeping those things consistent, so that we know that you're paying attention to them and it feels more professional than WWE sometimes does. That right there would go, I think, a long way for them with that kind of perception.
Yeah. No, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they need to be paying more attention to NXT than the main roster WWE shows, because that's what they're up against. They're not up against Raw and SmackDown. They're not in that league yet. You get to 1.5 million viewers every Wednesday night at 8:00, then you can, you'll have somebody's attention. But I mean, you got to double what you're doing now before you're really going to be a comparison to those two from the cable TV standpoint, from the advertiser standpoint, from the things that matter to you as a business standpoint. But for just wrestling, I mean, are they, as much as they preach offering an alternative, it's not always possible? Yeah, they're doing a lot of the same stuff. They have entrances, they have tag teams, they have multiple titles, they have personalities and heels and faces, and it's more about wrestling, archetypes than it is about anything to do with WWE versus AEW. Can they put on are they trying to garner the same audience that WWE does? Yes. That's exactly who they're going after, and they have to be a little bit like WWE to make sure that they get that audience. The numbers haven't really shown me any trajectory one way or the other yet. They've other than the debut on TNT, they've pretty much been at that 800K mark consistently, week after week since airing. So nothing they've done has really blown the roof off the place yet, as much as they're trying. And they are trying. But we'll see what happens as we go into the new year, because, again, I want to give them time. They're figuring stuff out. Let's give them time to figure it out. Let's have this conversation 6 months to a year from now.
It's good to point it out now, but, and say, okay, these are things they need to fix, and now we can look at it in 6 months and see how they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Thanks, Andy. Next up, Indigal. We all know that matches against The Fiend leave his opponents changed. In what ways will D-Bry change? Also, please fantasy book Fiend-induced changes to the following: Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Woken Broken Matt Hardy.
Woken Broken Matt Hardy has already kind of been done. He was the one who did it to Bray Wyatt, and also he's out of WWE.
Yep.
Drew McIntyre would love to see him fully become a psychopath and stop like just going out there and talking and just basically be a Terminator, a true Terminator. Roman Reigns, unfortunately, I think would ultimately end up being like Cena versus Wyatt at WrestleMania 30, where he'd try to turn him evil and he would just turn back into Super Reigns and everything would be fine. Randy Orton, he'd turn him back into 2007 Randy Orton. Randy Orton would be back there giving penis handshakes to all the writers and cheating on his girlfriend and or wife and getting hit for PEDs. How will Daniel Bryan change? Was that the original question? I just went off on a little
the Fiend.
fantasy
In what
booking
ways
tangent
will Daniel Bryan change? Obviously, he's going to have less hair, I think.
I think that's the implication.
Yeah.
I would love to see Daniel Bryan come out as like the Fiend's apprentice or accomplice. You know what I mean? Like come out shaved, totally shaved, bald, no beard, no hair. Comes out like Bryan Danielson or like early Daniel Bryan, Nexus Daniel Bryan. And he's just like evil machine.
Yeah.
How he's kind of been up until now, like very few, like no expressions, little to no expressions. Comes out and is just like a Matt tactician, tears people apart.
Just a drone, yeah. And
yeah,
he's a puppet at the Fiend's command, or even Funhouse Bray. I think there's more to Funhouse. Week to week, I'm more energized about Funhouse Bray than I am the Fiend. The Fiend is kind of like a one-trick pony, right? Might be an unstoppable force, but look at what everything Bray's doing with Funhouse Bray.
I love that, even how Funhouse Bray was like, you can train yourself not to feel pain. Like as if he explained why Fiend is invulnerable. Like, good stuff.
Yeah.
And if you had basically like Demon Daniel Bryan, not literally like Finn Balor, but like same kind of idea where he's just, like you said, evil puppet Daniel Bryan. Mwah. Give it to me.
Sheriff
and
McDonald.
Then that way, sorry, just real quick. Then that way you have like a one layer between everybody and Bray Wyatt. Now they have to go through Daniel Bryan to get to Bray Wyatt, and that would be pretty cool too.
Sheriff McDonald is obsessed with the idea that the Fiend's power is in the mask, and that at some point somebody's going to get the mask off, and he's just going to turn back into Funhouse Bray and beg off and be vulnerable. And I think that would be cool, but it's got to be the end thing. Like it's got to be Roman Reigns at WrestleMania that gets the mask off somehow. It's got to be a big effing deal if you're going to do that. I would have held off on doing that for anything with the Fiend. Like we've said, they just keep it in your pants, but they haven't.
Just keep him the hell away from Roman Reigns is all I ask.
Exactly.
Keep him the hell away.
You're just going to bury him for a Superman punch.
Jesus Christ. Don't do it.
So, yeah. Thank you very much, Indy. Oh, she snuck one more tiny question. What am I supposed to get about Kenny Mega from his Tron? Thanks.
He loves Japan.
Yeah, he loves anime and video games.
He is alone in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot. What are you supposed to get from anybody in AEW from their Trons? There's a lot of haphazard Trons.
Yeah.
I feel. Some that are on the nose.
Yeah. What do you get from Moxley's Tron? It's a lot of black and white footage of barbed wire fences and dogs barking and.
I mean, that's kind of it's more relevant to him than his Tron was in WWE, where it's a spinning thing. He's crazy. It's a spinning thing.
The lunatic fringe.
Yeah, which is even then that was more relevant to him than Seth's. Why is Seth's static and fire? What is he burning down exactly? What? Who is he? Okay.
Yeah.
We're not going down that rabbit hole again.
No. Thank you very much, Indy Gal. Next up, Esmeralda.
She just asked if she could change her question. She's in the chat right now,
God,
and she said she would like to change her question.
Can I do that? All right, we'll come back to you. Yeah, go ahead and post it in the chat. We'll come back to you, Esme. We'll do Sean next up. We get Nick's fantasy booking. Are we going to get Ian's? So give me your top 3 to push in 2020 for AEW, Raw and SmackDown, and NXT. So basically AEW, main roster, WWE, and NXT. What are your top 3 to push? Male and female, I assume.
Raw, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and trying to think who else is on Raw right now.
I'm gonna be mad if you leave your boy out.
Humberto Carrillo. He was sitting there like on the side. I'm like, I'm hanging on to him, but I've already got Ricochet going on.
Yeah.
No
more room for White Ranger, huh?
No, I'm like, do I give it to him or do I give it to somebody else?
Yeah.
Just making sure. Um, I mean, because there's Kevin Owens. I'd want to see a real push for Rusev, like not this crap that they're doing. Here's the thing. Okay, here you go. I would actually say Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, and Andrade, because Humberto's got plenty of time. He's young. We can build him. Who do you really push? Andrade. He's ready. He's ready to go right now.
Has
So
been for a year, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being
Yes.
honest.
Push that man. Push that man.
Pay that man his money.
Pay that man his money. As far as SmackDown, who do I push? I don't know. I'm not. SmackDown's roster does not blow me away.
Yeah.
In terms of like, and more, I should say, like, I feel like everyone's kind of in the position that they really should be. Nakamura is the IC champ. They're just not really doing everything I want them to be doing with him, but he's in the right position. Gable and Ali are at least out there getting looks, if not getting huge pushes. That's fine. Roman's at the top of the card. No shock there. The women's division over it's tough because all the women I would want to push her on Raw, like push Asuka. I'd push Asuka to the frickin' moon. But there's no one on SmackDown, the women's division, that I'm like, you got to push her. Maybe Sonya Deville. I'd push Sonya Deville more than she's getting pushed. I think she's got a lot of potential that there are people they're just not working with. But there's not really anybody else on Smack. Like Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan and Bray and what's going on there is already happening. So
yeah.
I'm not too mad at that. NXT, who would I push the crap out of? Io Shirai.
Yeah.
They're already starting to push the shit out of Keith Lee, which is what we've wanted for a while. So just continue with that. And I'd love to see a Kyle O'Reilly solo run, but at the same time, I cannot be mad at what they've done with him so far. Kushida, push the shit out of Kushida. Give people a lot of Kushida. I don't think people understand yet what that guy can do. Push the crap out of that man. You're starting to build back up that cruiserweight division, making it more relevant, making it mean something. If you had Kushida in a match against Leo or Angel Garza, you'd have a classic right there.
Oh yeah.
So those are my NXT.
Did you do AEW?
I don't suppose that I did. Who would I push in AEW? I think they're pushing all the right people so far.
Yeah.
Moxley should be the top, along with Kenny Omega, Pac. Like everyone is in kind of the right place. There's no one I feel is not in the right place in AEW. I don't like what they're doing with the Lucha Brothers in terms of their characters. I think they're doing the wrong things with them. But everyone else I kind of feels in the right place. I really don't have anyone in AEW that I would push over anybody else with where they're at with everything right now. I can't really complain about their booking right now in AEW.
If it wasn't clear last week, we're very high on Chris Statlander.
But I feel like she's getting that push.
She's on the precipice of getting that push. I think she's about to explode.
Yeah. I think she's going to win that. She's got that match on Dark, and if she wins, she's number one. She's got to face Britt Baker for number one contender. So I have a feeling she's going to get that push, man.
Yep. I think Britt had her chance this summer and has kind of squandered. It's just not worked out. Whether she squandered it or whatever.
I think they're going to do something else with her. They're going to do something else with her. That's
sure,
what I feel.
Sure. For me, it'd be bronze, and I'm just going to do main roster WWE. I don't have 3 and 3 on each one. Big boys, right? I love my big boys.
Nick likes big sweaty man.
I'd like Braun Strowman to actually have a real, legit feud / program for a major title. I got really excited at the idea of him taking the Intercontinental title off of Shinsuke Nakamura here recently, until he got injured. So we'll see if that can circle back around once he gets back and healthy. But yeah, I'd love to see that dude have a big program. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I agree with you on Drew McIntyre. He's ready. He was ready the moment he stepped into the main roster of WWE. That dude was an NXT champion. And by God, he looked great with it. And so Andrade took it off of him, hurt his bicep. and he just showed up one day as a psycho Scottish heel. He's the Scottish psychopath. Oh,
I feel
God.
like he had to work his way back into Vince's graces or something. Like he's got to reprove himself or something. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. That like we're talking on the main show today about Kane and Luchasaurus, people who can just stand there. They're giant, just beasts of human beings, and they just capture you when you look at Drew. Drew is exactly like that with how he's built his body.
Yeah, and I'd love to see Asuka return back to prominence. I mean, duh. I want her to be in this heel form. I want her to stay evil Kana. Like, I want that with the paint and the poison mist and all of that stuff. I want that to be hers. And I want her to just absolutely run roughshod over the entire women's division.
Yeah, and it's just not to be like the unstoppable, unbeatable Asuka from NXT because they've done that, and I understand that they don't want to repeat history, but at the same time, you can have her be more fearsome and not use the mist every damn match.
Yeah, sure. Now, I don't want it to be the thing. I don't want it to be her finishing move. I want
You
it to
don't
be
want
the
her to
thing
be
that
female
she
Brock.
uses when she's getting beat down and she can't get an edge. She uses that. It triggers it somehow like that, right? So, yeah, it can't become tropey like a finishing move or a specialty move. For AEW, I'm gonna go. I agree with you mostly. Everybody's kind of where they need to be. I'm at this point where I'm going Darby Allin. I feel like he's already getting there.
I feel like he's getting the push. He's like right where he should be. He's about to team with Cody. He's already there.
Absolute top. Chris Statlander, I'll throw in there as mine, just right there as
And you know what? As much as Orange Cassidy is divisive and controversial, like I feel like they're doing with him what they should be. Not too much of him, just enough to be fun. Not so much that you're like, oh my God, so much Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're kind of doing all that stuff pretty well.
Yeah.
Again, my only grief is the Lucha Brothers and the women's division as a whole.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you definitely on the women's division. So.
Yep.
All right. So what am I? NXT.
Yeah.
Again, everybody's kind of where they should. Where's Johnny Gargano? I know he's hurt, but I mean,
He's hurt. Yeah. He's going to come back into a feud.
Let me ask the question a different way. What's he going to come back to?
I mean, he could come back to a Finn champ who took him out. He could reform DIY. There's a lot he could do when he comes back.
So we'll see what happens with him. But as far as who should get pushed, obviously Keith Lee's getting that push right now. I would one honorable mention, Buddy Murphy. I'd love to see Buddy Murphy just get
Alistair and Buddy.
Like both
Jesus
of those
God.
guys are like a perfect matchup.
Something.
I want to see them do something cool, but they're probably going to get relegated to the pre-show. Let's see what happens in 2020. But
hot take.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Alistair Black on the main roster anymore. They obviously don't know what to do with him. Bring him back to NXT.
Wow.
Bring Alistair back to NXT and push him there.
Wow.
Done with him on the main roster. They obviously, every fear that I had about him being on the main roster has come true. Every nervousness I had about Vince not understanding him has come true. They do not understand him. They don't understand his presentation. They don't understand his character. They don't understand what makes him cool. They don't understand his strengths. They kind of do. They're keeping him as like a striker, scary guy. Like, all right, so you get that part. Everything else, like they're bungling him. Bring him back to NXT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson Riker.
Oh, stop it. Come on.
That was just to wind you up. Legit
Be
though.
serious.
The tag team division is a little bit sparse in NXT right now. I would like to see the Forgotten Sons be taken a little bit more seriously because we need it. It's needed. So
my phone just yelled at me. I said, "Be serious," and my phone just started screaming at me. I am Siri, but I am serious. You don't call me Shirley. Shut up, Apple. God,
you got Dog Ziggler and Siri over there. Just
tell you, Dog Ziggler's being very good today, aren't you, boy? Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Esme. No, that was Sean. We got to go back to Esme's question, which was, with all the horror stories that come out of WWE from wrestlers and staff, plus the declining product restrictions and work schedule, why do wrestlers still want to go there?
Money and consistency. They still pay, and it's funny because if you read Meltzer, he actually talks a lot about, relatively speaking, in the sports world, how little percentage-wise the wrestlers get from the company. They get less than 10%, it's like around 6 or 7%, whereas NFL players get half of all the revenue in the NFL. NBA players get 49% of all the revenue in the NBA. MMA, between 18 and 20% of all the revenue goes to the fighters. WWE, it is in the single digits of all the revenue from WWE goes to the wrestlers, and yet they are still the best paid wrestlers in the world on average. The only place that comes close is New Japan.
And they build massive followings on social media, which leads to promotions, opportunities, and sponsorships, and endorsement deals, and all kinds of
That's a new
stuff.
thing that they're allowing them to do is Triple H. And actually, I saw an interview with, I think it was Matt Bloom and Triple H, talking about how in the PC, they're not just preparing them for the life in the WWE, but post WWE.
Yep.
How to build a brand for yourself that then can last outside of the WWE. You can have stuff afterwards. Xavier Woods is someone who really preaches that, where he's creating his own stuff outside of WWE. And if he ever leaves or has to retire, he's got something to fall back on.
Yep.
The exposure in WWE is unlike anywhere else. If you're in the WWE, you're being seen by millions of people.
Even if you're not on TV.
Even if you're not on TV, millions of people will still know of you. So the reason that they still go there is they're just leveraging that access to those millions of people and the money and the consistency against a schedule where you've got to grind all the time to get those indie dates. Even if you work for someone like Ring of Honor, you still have to grind to do those shows. They don't do as many. The contracts are nowhere near as big. They're minuscule. We're talking like $55,000 for their top stars kind of thing.
Yeah. Would anybody know who Jon Moxley in AEW was? Some dude in jeans and a leather vest. If we hadn't watched The Shield for 5 years, 6 years,
I think
in WWE.
More so, Nick. Would anyone would Sean Spears be as big of a deal? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's more
example.
He was a enhancement guy at best in WWE, a journeyman, and now he's a guy that comes out in AEW. And right off the bat, when he came out in that Rumble, everyone was chanting for him. He turned on Cody. He was able to become a big deal because he had that cachet from WWE. Just being a minor WWE star, Cody coming out as a relatively minor WWE star automatically had cachet on the indies.
Yeah.
So, you spend time in WWE, it does look really good on your resume. It can help you build money. And the people that are just sitting there and catering are still picking up 6-figure checks just for hanging out and catering. And for some people, if you're living in a 3-bedroom house in nowhere, Wisconsin, you can make a damn good living on just sitting and catering, making 6 figures.
Yeah.
So I can see why that would be something that
get to travel the world. You're constantly on the road. I'm one that can attest for the glamour of road life. It's not glamorous at all.
You do it for 20 years, you're set for life, though.
There you go.
So, you look at a guy like Heath Slater. That guy's going to do it, and he might actually be able to transition into being a road agent for WWE and have a peaceful life the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Like, for some people, that's fine.
Yeah.
And for all of us that are sitting here on the sidelines going, why don't you push them more? Maybe they just don't care, and they're happy with where they're at.
Maybe
and that's fine,
they're in
too.
the back eating Otis's Christmas spiral cut ham.
I would have picked that crap off the floor and eaten it. I'm hungry right now.
Yeah, me too.
Even thinking about it.
Yep.
I now know I'm going to go get ham for Christmas dinner this year. I now know.
According to Cartman, that's what Christmas is all about in the first place: presents and ham. If you see the spirit of Christmas, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much, Esme. I do want to call back to one thing Sean said that I didn't get to in his question. Cheers to a solid 2019 and a skeptically optimistic 2020. Looking forward to where the show goes and the endless possibilities for you guys. Thank you very much,
I don't have any
Sean.
booze on me right now, but I'll cheers you with my big Kool-Aid cup of water.
Thank you, Sean. Next up, Will. With some of the WWE stars receiving releases as of late, do you think WWE already thinks AEW won't be competition given the ratings lately and are not worried about their releases making any significant impact? Seems like the no-fire rule that was referenced all year is going away.
It's not even that it was a no-fire rule. It's like, let's try to avoid it if we can, because they know it's going to happen at some point. Yeah. It's just going to.
And all the people that were released, except for Ascension, I believe, requested their releases.
Correct.
Luke Harper requested, Sin Cara
let
requested.
Me out.
Yeah.
And Luke still, I mean, we knew he was going to be out at this time. Like, we were talking about when he first said I want out in like around WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It was like right after WrestleMania. And he was like, I'm screwed because I'm stuck with them until November or so. And then I've got a 90-day no compete.
Didn't he get hurt during the Bludgeon Brothers thing? And that ruined that? And I can't remember
I
exactly
think
how
it
all
was
played out.
Rowan. It was Rowan who got hurt. But
Okay.
at any rate, the bottom line is that, Luke's basically going to have to wait nearly a year from first saying I want out to finally getting out. So he's done the time to get out of this contract.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think WWE still is trying their best to not release guys, but some people are just going to fall through the cracks. I don't even think it's about being worried or not worried about AEW. They see them as competition, but it's a limited amount of competition. It's not like AEW is going to bury WWE, at least not right away. And it's not like Luke Harper is that big of a piece if we're just singling him out. If they can't afford a whole bunch of Moxleys, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And if you see a whole bunch of people heading for the hills that are on the level of Dean Ambrose, multiple time, heavyweight champion, multiple time IC champion, longest reigning U.S. champion, like people who've held a bunch of belts
He was a
and have
Grand
had major
Slam
pushes.
champion.
If you start losing those guys, if you start losing Seth Rollins's or Drew McIntyre's on the regular, then I would say then WWE should be worried or they're making bad business decisions. You lose a guy like Luke Harper who spent 9 months trying to get out of your company, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I suspect that they're still doing their best to retain all of their bigger stars, especially after seeing what happened with Moxley.
Yep. Thank you very much, Will, for the question. Josh, you each have an hour interview with any... I love this question. You each have an hour interview with any wrestler of your choosing, past or present, dead or alive. Who do you each choose and why?
God, how do you not choose Ric Flair for this one? Do you choose anyone else but Ric Flair, Nick?
Yes.
Who do you choose?
I'm going back to trying to think about who sort of the godfathers of wrestling would be, like a Bruno or a Harley Race or even Vince Sr. and like understanding
Luthez or
Gagne, Vern Gagne, or just 70s guys that really like
Buddy Rogers.
What we know of modern wrestling today really started in the late 70s and early 80s, and kind of it's been a 30 to 40 year run there. But yeah, the guys that were really Vince Sr., Vern Gagne, Harley Race, Bruno Sammartino. I'm not talking about the superstars themselves, the guys that were. I mean, I would love to sit down for an hour with any of those guys and just go, "How'd you guys do it?"
I'll throw someone out there. Someone who had an insane career, went all over the place. Japan career, huge career here in America. Started up a couple different federations that were like built on his back. And that's a man whose shirt I'm wearing right now. That's Terry Funk.
Yeah,
I'd love to do an hour-long Terry Funk interview. That would
Dusty would be brilliant. Just to get into that guy's head for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Like so many modern wrestlers today have had the pleasure. Most of them in developmental have had the pleasure with working with Dusty over the last 10 years or so. So
you mentioned Vince Sr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon would be a fascinating interview. I wouldn't believe a word he said.
Oh, that's why I didn't say him, but yeah.
But I'd be fascinated.
His dad was against the unification of the territories nationwide.
Of course he was.
Because he wanted to keep his own little fiefdom and everything, but Vince Jr. saw the bigger picture.
But it was also, that was omerta, man. You didn't do that. You didn't go against your boys.
Yeah.
Like you talk about, who was it? It was, Abraham. It was Abraham Castillo last week who said something about like, the Godfather, right? That was Vince McMahon was Michael Corleone. He went out and killed all the other families and unified all the families under himself. Like, that is the most Godfather thing that you can, like, unless you go to the mafia, that's the most Godfather thing that's happened.
He made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
He bought them all up. He destroyed them and he bought them up. He bought their TV time, took their market, and ate them up. That's what he did. So, yeah, that would be fascinating to just talk to him just about that era.
Yeah, how'd that go? Yeah, exactly. That time period specifically in the mid 80s where what was the early memories that you have of conspiring against your father to buy out his company?
When did you get the idea to
when
go
did you decide to buy out your father's company?
Well, my father said never be a performer and never buy out the other companies. And at some point I said, screw that to both of them. He nope. I'm going to do everything my dad told me not to do.
No, I think before
bang blondes.
Yeah. Before Vince
that
came
fight-
around, I would want to talk to all the guys that like preceded him. Mostly because it's before my time. But I would want to understand like how we molded this, because a lot of it is Vince Jr. But a lot of it was also set in motion with the territories and things that were going on in the 70s and 80s before Vince bought out his daddy. So, yeah, that would be mine. Several of them in there, actually. Any other ones you want to throw in there, Sir Ian Dangers?
I've heard some interviews, some shooting interviews with Roddy Piper, and he never got enough. He never got time enough to do enough of those. But that guy had some stories. Good Lord! I've actually been watching some. Like you go online sometimes and you see like on YouTube, they're now a lot of these guys are having excuse me. A lot of these guys now are getting out there and doing shoot interviews because they're finally allowed to. And it's really fun to see that. Some of the guys that have been getting out there and talking about it. So I wish I'd heard Roddy Piper.
Yeah, good example is Moxley himself when he left WWE, going on Jericho's podcast and telling that story. I remember being so blown away by a lot of that stuff that we talked about. It was kind of a revelation and a look inside the business a little bit. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about inside the business.
Shane Douglas has a bunch of good stuff on there right now.
Oh yeah, Chris Van Vliet doing all of his interviews that are fantastic with a lot of superstars. Either you just can't tell whether they're in character or not sometimes.
Or if you want to go straight to hell, go watch a Shoot Sabu interview.
No, don't do that.
Oh God, woof.
Thank you, Will, for the question. I'm sorry. No, that was Josh. That was Josh. Yeah. Last but certainly not least, Brandon.
Oh, we had two more. We got two more.
We have two. What?
Right? Did you say we had one added on at the end?
No. Oh, I sent it to you. It's this one. Brandon's question: Darby Allin's ceiling in AEW. What is it?
Well, didn't Darby's ceiling AEW champ, heavyweight champ. That guy could go all the way if he keeps going the way he is. And the audience keeps connecting to him the way that they have been. You could strap him in a year or so. You absolutely could. One of the very few smaller guys I think you could do that with.
I think he's one of the ones that could go up once Cody and MJF work their shit out. I think Darby might get to MJF before, or if not before, immediately after Cody. Now that we've seen Darby come out and sort of align with Cody after this week.
I have a feeling that AEW is going to treat their championship the way that New Japan does, where it's a very select group of people that get it.
I'm not talking about the championship. I'm talking about the ring.
Oh, yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Darby and MJF.
For sure.
I could get behind that. But yeah, I agree. It's the sky's the limit for Darby Allin. I don't, there are no like big insurmountable super dudes in AEW yet. Like Luchasaurus you could put in there, but I'm talking about like a Braun Strowman. There's not a monster in AEW
and I don't see Luchasaurus as champ. And that's just because of his gimmick, to be honest with you. But Darby, with his gimmick, I see him being champ. That could be some big inroads for the Hot Topic crowd, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Which is, they need to get more teens watching that show.
Yep.
So he could definitely be it.
You were right. We do have one more. Austin snuck one in at the last minute. Hey guys, still in love with this podcast, just like Baron Corbin loves dog food.
You dump it on your enemies? What?
Not sure I understand. Okay. Thank you for loving the podcast. I'm not sure the analogy though.
Very happy with that. No. Baron Corbin loves dog food.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been watching the old NXT takeovers, and the Demon entrance with Jack the Ripper may be my new all-time favorite.
Oh, it's so sick.
Wonder what your guys' most impressive entrance is, the one that you didn't see coming that wowed you. The Fiend.
Fiend, man.
The Fiend.
Fiend.
I lost my shit with the lantern thing. I had no idea what it was. It was this blue glow, and I'm like, what is this? What's happening? I will say I don't like the constant of the lights. That thing. Just give me the one big Viking horn sound. That pong. That it just echoes throughout everything. Make that his glass shatter, for lack of a better word. There's one big horn, a brown note, pong, that just happens and just kill the lights.
Comes out and everyone poops themselves.
Yes.
Most
impressive entrances. It's kind of subjective. I mean, what do you determine as impressive, right?
we've had
Cody right now has one of the most impressive entrances just because it takes forever and there's a ton of pyro.
So usually it's funny because a lot of times on main roster, at least these days, and we could go back and talk about like old OG entrances and people who had fantastic entrances back in the day, and there's a lot of those, but these days they don't often have quote special entrances unless it's WrestleMania, which means of course I have to call out Rusev on a tank because Rusev on a tank.
Yeah.
And they've had a bunch of great all-time great entrances at WrestleMania. I still I chuckle every time I think about like Shawn Michaels and his angel entrance versus the Undertaker's devil entrance. Ooh. Undertaker coming out with all the hands coming up from the ground. That's an all-time great. But if we're talking about one-off entrances that surprised you because you hadn't seen anything like it before, NXT is doing it a lot, and New Japan does it at their big shows too. Wrestle Kingdom, they have big entrances. Marty Scurll at Wrestle Kingdom 12, where he came out with the wings. Like he comes out, he turns on the wings, unfurl, and he's got the mask. Oh, that was a sick one. What other like special one-off ones? The Viking Raiders had a really sweet one. Oh, Drew McIntyre with the pipes
the
in
pipers,
NXT. Yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura with the violinist.
I'll throw a hat tip to Triple H with the Terminators. I thought that was pretty cool.
I hated the Terminators one. Damn it. He's had some good ones, but the Terminators one was not one of my favorites.
I like Terminator.
I know you do. I know you do. Terminator. What other really cool ones were? Well, Shawn Michaels coming out of the roof at WrestleMania is an all-time great.
And yeah, Balor with the demon entrance. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah,
love
that's
that?
how we started.
Pong,
with
pong, pong, pong. Just and you know it's coming. Just oh god, it's the.
I'm trying to think.
It's the demon.
What other? I'm off the top of my head. I'm trying to come up with great entrances. What
about some women? Let's give a nod to the ladies. What are some of the best women entrances?
I mean, we don't have a lot to pick from there, though, Nick.
No,
that's the problem. Is we don't have the kind of epic entrances. Even Charlotte with like all her pomp and circumstance at WrestleMania.
I think Asuka when she debuted.
That's a challenge.
When Asuka debuted and it was just the mask up on the screen, we all kind of lost our shit. Like, oh my god, finally.
Her debut entrance was sick, but it was because of, it was finally Asuka on the main roster.
The anticipation, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the entrance itself; it was her, and they did a fine job with it. But
I like AJ's. I think AJ's entrance itself is phenomenal.
It's hit or miss for me, and I'm just going to let that pass because that was just low-hanging fruit there, Nick. Low-hanging fruit. AJ's is fine. It never really flipped my wig though. I'm glad Pyro's back. Kane's always my dude when it comes to entrances with slam down the Pyro.
That's cool, but I'll see your Kane and raise you a Batista or a Goldberg.
Oh God. Okay, Goldberg with the sparks.
I walk for miles inside this pit of danger. You, just with the pyro going off, you can't. Yeah, you can't.
You were always a bigger fan of that than I was. I
love it.
You can actually, yes, but
whatever.
Oh God.
You're not gonna be happy until somebody comes out to a Gojira song anyway. So
that is 100% accurate. If anyone ever comes out to a Gojira song, I will mark the actual hell out. Gojira, my boys.
Oh, that Silvera track would actually be a pretty good entrance. Now the more I think about it.
Art of Dying.
Okay.
Toxic Garbage Island. Come on,
man. Now we're getting silly. All right.
Backbone.
Thank you very much to all of the patrons for sending in all of your amazing questions today. Martin, don't worry. We didn't forget about you. We're putting that one on the back burner. That's a big question. Just as a general note, we try to stay away from those. We want to make sure that we're not turning any particular question into a giant bonus episode here on this series. So try to keep that in mind.
You and I only have so much bandwidth.
Book everything for the year across all promotions. Go. And it was Those kinds of
rename
questions
every wrestler.
Yes.
No, it's I get it. I get the excitement, and I it would be fun to do, but we're only human, man.
Yeah, right.
We're only human.
I have to eat today, so at some point.
Eating would be good too. This is all I've had is some water.
Yeah. Thank you very much to the patrons, to all of you for getting all these questions in every single week. We hope you guys are loving this series. We certainly are, and it gives us some extra great content on YouTube to for people to listen to and listen through, get our perspective on things, and you get some fun stories out of the side of it. It's not always just our markery, right? So it's always a good time. Be sure you're following us over on Facebook and you're in the Busted Wide Open discussion group. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. We stream live here on YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, as well as doing this show around 5-ish Eastern for the Patron Mailbag. And we thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel at youtube.com/bustedwideopen and jingle that little notification bell so you get alerts anytime we go live or put up new content. And if you'd like to get in on some of this action for this show specifically, you can head over to patreon.com/BWO and sign up for just that $5 tier. You'll also get copies of the show notes for every single episode. Just $5 a month. You get to participate and have your questions answered every single week throughout the month.
Yes.
Also, bonus episodes at the $10 tier, Skype calls, sweet swag, all kinds of good stuff. Patreon.com/BWO.
And Nick, a quick announcement before we go. We have to let everybody know we will be taking a small Christmas break. So if we are not here for all of our next few shows, that's because it's the holidays and we just have to take some time off. We will be doing our Tuesday show coming up here on the 17th. And then we will be off Saturday the 21st and off Christmas Eve the 24th. Back on the 28th, but we will be off again New Year's Eve on Tuesday the 31st. So that's our schedule. Don't worry, we will post in the Facebook discussion group. We will repeat it again. We will be taking a couple of shows off, and we appreciate your patience with that. It's the holidays, y'all.
Holidays.
Come on now. It's the holidays.
Yeah.
But we will be trying to keep you updated as much as possible. We will still be active in the groups and the Discord. But yeah, so off Tuesday the 17th. Excuse me. Oh, we're Tuesday the 17th. Off the 21st. Off the 24th. Off the 31st, but we'll be here the 28th for a big old Saturday show where we're recapping all the stuff we missed.
Yeah, thanks,
it's gonna be madness.
Calendar, for putting 2 major holidays on our stream schedule.
Swear to God, Nick, it's not
Calendar.
Fair. It's not fair.
Calendar's taking a shoot. Guys, my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at Data Center Dude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God!
Would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.